Hero Motocorp has recently been trying to make a name for themselves in the luxury segment. They launched the Xtreme 200R, and now we have 3 new bikes in that 200cc segment. One of them is the Xtreme 200S, which we will be riding on the Buddha International Circuit. An odd choice, but here we are. So let's find out if this new 200cc motorcycle from Hero is any good. The Xtreme 200S is essentially a sports version of the Xtreme 200R, and as such the company has slapped on a fairing on top of the Xtreme 200R, and it looks quite nice. Gives the bike a nice bulky front, and you have a lot of curves and a lot of lines running through the fairing. The side remains largely the same, even the rear. At the front you have an LED lamp, and it's got a very nice robotic cluster up front. Though I must say that the top half of the fairing reminds me of some Ducati motorcycles, especially this bit right here. The fit and finish according to this price segment is pretty decent. There aren't any loose panels or rough edges to be a sore spot in your eyes. The seat also looks quite decent and can house 2 people. The other big change found on the Xtreme 200S compared to the 200R is this instrument cluster. As you can see, this is a fully digital LCD unit, and you can connect this with your smartphone via Bluetooth. So it will show you turn-by-turn navigation, and it will show you your gear position. It has 2 trip meters, and you have your general things like your speed, your tachometer, and the odometer. So it's a pretty basic, but it shows you most of the things that you would require. Although I don't like the fact that when you press the buttons, the instrument panel moves like that. So that is a bit of a problem. Before we go out on the track, let me give you a quick rundown of what the mechanicals of the 200S look like. So you have a 200cc single cylinder air-cooled engine. This is the same which is found on the Xtreme 200R, and it produces about 18.1 horsepower at around 8,000 RPM and 17.1 Newton meters of peak torque at around 6,500 RPM. The engine comes mated to a 5-speed gearbox. Now this is a carbureted engine and there is no FI option as of now, but we do have hopes that that will happen sometime in the future. So how does it feel out on the track? Despite my skepticism, the bike was a lot of fun on the track. We rode it on the bit that is full of twists and turns. I kept the bike at the 5th gear for almost the entire time, as there was no need to shift down. The engine growls and pounces till about 7,000 RPM, after which you start to lose power. But the most fun part was leaning like there was no tomorrow. Initially I felt that the bike was a bit too twitchy and would probably fall if I pushed it too hard. But I was once again proven wrong, and the bike left me awestruck by how nicely the tires gripped the tarmac, even at an angle. The Xtreme 200S perfectly held its line and even changed it with confidence. The gear too takes some effort in upshifts, so that is something I hope Hero would improve over time. The track isn't the best place to judge the level of vibrations, but I did feel some, but more on that once we get the bike on the road. As for the braking setup, you have a 276mm disc at the front, a 220 at the rear. Sadly, there is only single channel ABS despite this being the sports version. As I mentioned earlier, since I kept the bike at the 5th gear mostly, there was hardly time to properly test the brakes. But even in my limited testing, I felt the brakes were quite good for a bike of this stature. The front telescopic fork suspensions again remain unchanged, and so does the rear 7-step preload adjustable monoshock. The suspension was a little bit bouncy for the track, but would be very suitable for city commute. In case you're wondering about fuel efficiency, while we do not have official figures, but that should not change too much from the Xtreme 200R, so you should expect a figure close to 45 kmpl. Most of the proportions of the bike remain the same, which means that you get the same 165 mm of ground clearance, which is plenty. So that was my first experience with the Hero Xtreme 200S. It has been priced decently at 98,500 rupees ex-showroom Delhi. It's about 8 to 9,000 rupees more than the normal Xtreme 200R, but then compared to that, you get a fair bike, you get a better instrument cluster and smartphone connectivity. So I think that price is justified. Of course, you can go for a bike that is more powerful in the 200cc segment by adding in about 15 to 20,000 rupees more, but then you still don't get that connected feature in any other bike as of now. That could happen later on, but as of now, that is a big selling point for this bike. And if you want a wee bit more fuel efficiency. So I would love to know what you think of this bike. Would you be willing to buy it or not? Do let me know in the comments down below. So until the next time, keep watching and like this video before you go. And subscribe to our channel if you have not done yet. This is Akash signing off. Bye bye.